Hey, how's everybody? Some of you may know that I tried to do this earlier, but it didn't record it or something. So I'm gonna attempt to do it again and hope that it just doesn't cut me out. I'm trying to get in frame this right here. It has the materials and steps. I don't know if you guys can see it. It is a good cheat sheet for me to remember and keep myself on track. But anyways, hey, welcome to my video. I'm Katie, and today we're going to be trying to make face masks. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to be able to explain it properly, but I hope I do. Anyways, I'm not expecting to have a lot of people viewing this on live stream, but I did decide to do a live stream for this due to my current situation because I'm working so much. I don't have time to sit down and edit a 40-minute long video, which is what I had recorded. And I was like, well, today is the day I'd like to upload. And so here we are. But I'll be putting timestamps in the description below. If y'all are watching this later, go ahead, check that out. You can skip to where you need to get. And yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and start with first my attempts of face masks, because I did kind of stray away from how they were folding it for certain reasons. This is the first one I made. It is a 3-fold recommended type of thing. I did put a dart right there for the chin to just kind of cup it underneath, because it's recommended that the face mask is as close as possible to your face. I, however, like room to breathe. Otherwise, I kind of just go into a panic attack or the equivalent of, and yeah. Also, this right here, I don't know if I didn't make big enough folds, which is most likely what happened, but I kept breaking my thread, and you can kind of see that's like thick. And so 2 pluses of the way that I am going to show y'all how to make face masks is that it's easier to sew and it's more form-fitting. This is the second one. This is the prototype of my finished mask. It's the same except for the fact that instead of elastic, I was using ribbon, and a very thin ribbon at that. As you can tell, it did break, and I think that was probably because not only is it ribbon, and I didn't give it enough of an allowance to keep it strong, I went over it quite a few times, and it just kind of broke the ribbon apart. But learned that from my prototype number 2. This is the one I like to use for work. It has hairband elastics on the outside. It's just got like a 1 fold. I want to call it a mountain fold like in origami, but I know that's not exactly what it is. But as you see, when you pull from the middles, it just kind of folds out, and it gives you this nice cup for your nose right there. And when you go to put it on for your chin, you can just pull those out, and it'll give you a nice wide curve rather than the acute one for your nose. And as you can see, it does go on, and I mean, you can't tell from where you're at right now, you can't tell, but with these folds right here, they do create kind of like those masks that go on the face like this. There is a point of contact close to your face at the whole circle. There's a whole 360 there. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and plug in my iron and tell y'all what we need for this tutorial. You need an iron, that's for sure. And ooh, oh my goodness, I just gotta fix this. I got it stuck in my hair. Okay, so you want to set your iron to really whatever's recommended for your interfacing. But what you're going to need is a 12 by 9 sheet of cotton, tightly woven fabric. I think 600 thread count is recommended, and that's doubling it over, which is what we're going to be doing. The interfacing that I'm using is not the kind that you use for masks, like the actual medical face masks or something, but you can go online and find those. I think Threadbanger, their YouTube channel, they did a live stream that was, they used Filti, Filti brands. They're being sponsored. And so like you can go in and use those. Mine is just, it's a thick, kind of like what you would use for a collar. And I have the fusible kind. I don't know if you can quite tell, but it's got the shiny glue that you iron on. And the other side is just regular interfacing. And I have to iron that on. You want to set your iron to whatever temperature is best for your fabric and for your interfacing. And this is just, it's a towel, life hack, hashtag. The next thing, the other things that you're going to need are thread. You want like 100% polyester thread, and that's going to be pretty strong thread because the folds that we're putting into these fabric, it's going to put a lot of tension onto the thread, and you really want something that's going to hold. I'm using an embroidery thread, and that seems to break the least, although I do still have it break on me from time to time. You also need straight pins, although I don't recommend that you put a lot of holes into your fabric. Like if you have non-fusible interfacing, I would pin around like the edges and then baste around the edges, just so you're not putting holes in the center of your fabric. That way you have maximum amount of protection. But straight pins, you're also going to need elastic. 7 inches for an adult size, long piece of elastic. You can also use hair bands, which is what I'm using. They're the Skunci time, 3 times as strong. They're kind of braided, and when you go to cut this in half, you just like take one of the pieces, right? And this whole piece is just one long elastic, and you can get 3 7-inch long pieces of elastic out of it. But you can also, if your Dollar Tree is stocked, you can go to the Dollar Tree and get like 100 for $1. It's just whatever you want to use. If you are using hair ties though, you are going to want to maybe cut 6.5 inches instead of 7 if you're going to be wearing the mask a lot. And that's because when you wear it a lot, just like a regular hairband, it's gonna stretch. Obviously I have a viewer. Hello. I hope you can hear me. I don't really know what I'm doing. Okay. I don't know. Last time there was little green dots on the bottom of the screen, but hopefully you can hear me. So now that we have this attached to the fabric, you're going to want to fold it right sides together, and that means the fabric sides together. The section that you want to be showing at the ends when you're all done. And I'm just going to quickly press that in and unplug my iron because you don't want to burn the house down. Nope, not me. Okay. I realized a thing. I filmed this about an hour ago, but it didn't save, except for maybe 4 minutes, I guess. I don't know what happens. Well, I do. It cut out on me. Hopefully this isn't going to cut out on me. But that's a thing that happened. And I got done with the whole thing, and it got to the end screen, and the end screen was like, hey, what you want to do? And I pressed the wrong button, and I guess it didn't save anything except for the 4 minutes, which is fine with me. I need to make some face masks for some friends anyways. But you're just going to want to load your thread and your bobbin into your machine. I'm just using a black thread. Hopefully you'll be able to see it with the pattern. It's a pretty light pattern of fabric. All right. I'm going to get a marker and a ruler real quick. Be right back. All right. So, you want to sew the open ends right here, but you want to leave a 2-inch gap. So we're going to go ahead and mark the 2-inch gap, and I'm just using a Crayola Super Tip marker because it washes out pretty easily. It's a gray. Any way that you want to mark it, you can mark it. You can use chalk, you can use soap if it's dark colored fabric. Bar soap is what I mean. But I just have that marked right there. And we're going to sew on the outsides, making sure to back stitch each piece. So back stitch here, there, and there. And I just have my machine set to a straight stitch, a 2 for stitch length, 3 tension, and my pressure is on 1. Now, when I'm sewing, I don't really give a lot of a seam allowance because it's a waste of time in my opinion. For most fabrics, you're going to cut it off anyways. So I don't. These face masks, as measured, fit most people pretty well. I've made quite a few for my work and quite a few for a neighbor too. Oh no. I don't know why. Spoiler alert, this is an old machine that I had when I was a kid. And sometimes it just doesn't know how to sew. But I guess we'll just go with the flow and see if it works or not. Maybe I'm just not meant to put this video out there. Maybe there's some sort of weird wrong information, and somehow miraculously a YouTuber with 7 subscribers ends up making it big for this. I broke my needle. Why is it doing that? Oh goodness. Okay, so I guess I could destruct one of the face masks I'm on my last universal needle too. 15-year-old needle pack, y'all. Haven't even had this needle in for I don't know, like not even 24 hours worth of sewing. So that's a fun thought. Okay, let's just make sure this goes all the way down without hitting anything. Gotta thread it back up. So what is it? The CDC, the World Health Organization, they recommend wearing a face mask when you go out. It's not really anything that's going to prevent you necessarily from getting COVID. It's going to help prevent you from spreading COVID. And if you want to learn more about that, how to cook that, Anne Reedon is a YouTube channel. She did a video recently with a lot, I presume, a lot of research, which is usually what she tries to do. It's a pretty cool YouTube channel. Usually she cooks stuff, but she does debunk a lot of things. All right, try attempt number 3. All right, when I get to that dot, I don't even bother cutting the thread. I just pull it over to that second dot and repeat. All right, so now what you have looks like this. There's going to be a gap right here. This is where we're going to flip the whole project right side out after we put the elastic in. I guess I'm going to go ahead and use this black one. When I'm disassembling these braided ones, I like to cut it on the glued section, and it's kind of stuck together. And to figure out where the actual glued part is, you just pull it, and the glued part will have that little like knot. Can you see it? I hope you can. And you just cut it, unravel it. Like I said, you can just use a regular hair tie, regular sized hair tie, cut it in half. I think that measures 7 inches. A lot of people are using them. I'm sure it's 100% fine. You too can make prototypes, and if you find that it doesn't quite fit your face, you can lengthen the fabric. So instead of the 9 inches, you can use 9.5, 10 inches by 12 instead. And so what I'm doing is I'm just taking the ends of these, and folding it into 3, right? And that's where I'm going to cut. This conveniently measures about 7 inches. It's not always 100% accurate, but it works. These are not the sharpest scissors, but I'm not really going out much, so I'm using what I got. It's a thing. Now, when you are, I'm not even going to try to cut the string right now. Like I said, when you're pinning things into this, you don't want it to really puncture. You want to puncture as little surface area as possible. But we're going to be placing the elastic on the in-between inside of this fabric tube, like right here. So making sure it's in between the fabric and not the fabric and interfacing, because that happens to me sometimes. Oops. You're just gonna push it all the way to the corner and secure it into place, just outside of your seam allowance. So mine is, I don't know, 1/4 inch maybe. Oh, but I'm gonna do it on this side because I like to start sewing elastic on from the already sewn parts. That way it has more of a grip right here. More on that later. But you're just going to put it through as close to the elastic as you can, and then push it right back out the other end, and pushing that all the way through. And you're going to do that with the remaining 3 corners. Did I finish explaining how face masks don't actually protect you from getting it? I don't remember. And reading, yeah, totally did. But I believe it does help a little bit, because it at least reminds you, hey, don't touch your face. You got a thing there to help you not touch your face to not get sick. But it's not going to block any incoming virus or bacteria. And what else? I don't know. Maybe I'm speechless now. When you're inserting the elastic, you're going to want to leave just the littlest bit hanging out. Oh, and when you go to sew it in, you're not going to want to just do a straight line back and forth on it, right? You're going to want to do kind of like a zigzag up and then down. Like I was saying with the ribbon, it might just be because it was ribbon, but I did also break the face mask that I usually use. The elastic just kind of broke off, so I had to sew it back on. And my assumption, which is logical to me, I don't know if it's logical to you, is that it's such a small piece of elastic that because I went over it straight, it poked so many holes in it that it was basically like when you were in preschool and whatever, and you were trying to cut out the maps with push pins. Did anybody else do that? I did that. It was one of my favorite activities, I think. That was a long time ago. But okay, so you have the pins in, still not changing anything. The stitch length is the same. It's still a straight stitch. You still want to make sure you back stitch at least once. And we will be seeing the results in just a minute. Oh, so you still want to you're going to have to push at the beginning the elastic through, because there's not enough surface area for the feed dog to push it through. Oh, I'm getting caught on something. Oh my gosh, what can go wrong will go wrong every single time. I don't know what it's caught on. I think it's just some of this excess string. I'm just going to cut that. It was always trim your strings as you go. It's just, it makes life so much easier, trust me. I'm not going to practice what I preached. Like I said, my scissors are dull. But this is what I was talking about with the zigzag. That's how you're going to want to secure them in like that. And on to the next side, just the same as you did. I guess another just little thing is that you want the gapped line at the top, you want the corners to meet where you've sewn. So yeah. I guess maybe my pressure on my foot could be at a 0. That might help the sticking. But not again. This happened like 10 times the first time I tried to video this. That's why these pins are there, trying to keep it up. But I don't know. Maybe it's not meant to be. Maybe y'all have already read all of it. Maybe you can't even see it. Maybe it splits. I'll put it all in the description below. So you have both sides trimmed, well, not trimmed, but zigzagged in there. You are going to want to go in and trim off the corners as close to the thread, the sewn part, as possible where you can. On the bottom parts, it's a little bit okay if you don't. You can do a little angled cut if you want. This is just going to create a sharper edge, but I mean, maybe you want it to have a curved edge. It's a cosmetic thing that I just do. So when you're going to flip it out, which we are now going to flip it right side out, you're going to go in through the middle. I usually stick 2 fingers in and then go into a corner and push that in between the fingers, right? And I pull it out that way as far as it'll go. And then I go in again to the other opposite corner and pull the whole bottom part out if you can. Sometimes it's easier said than done. And then I just push the other corners out. Can y'all hear this music? I just kind of did a royalty-free search on Google Audio Library and downloaded some things that I thought was cute. This reminds me of Austin Powers though, and I don't know if I want to listen to it, but maybe y'all are enjoying it, so I won't change it. So you got it all turned out. You can just give these a quick little tug, just pull the whole corner out, and we're going to press it with the iron to just give it a nice clean finished edge, and so that this little gap here has enough seam allowance for us to secure it closed when we top stitch it. So when we're talking top stitching, it's for the most part cosmetic. You could just top stitch this opening if you'd like. You could do a blind hand stitch. I like the finished look of a top stitch though. A lot of the time I use an overlock. I don't have an overlocking machine, but I do have this stitch. I'm not going to do that. That takes a long time. Zigzags are really cute, and actually I'm going to do a zigzag on this. But I also use the triple stitch, which is just where it goes 3 stitches, 3 stitches, 3 stitches, all the way down. I like to use that one for children masks. Did I mention you're not supposed to put a face mask on a child 2 and under, apparently? I don't know. I don't remember. I, like I said, filmed this hour or two ago, and it just didn't upload. So we're going to need that iron one more time after this. Wow, I keep saying a lot. Okay, so I am putting it on a zigzag, like the medium zigzag, and you want to make this as close to the edge as possible without it going over the edge and without it, like, you still want to leave a little bit of room cosmetically, I guess. I don't know. That's just how I always see it. You know, it's like a centimeter from the edge, but I usually just line my fabric up with the opening of the foot. So like right there. I hope that made sense. Oh my gosh. And I have it set for a 2.5 stitch length. You might have to pull the elastic at the beginning because it is not going to catch on the feed dog. And always finishing off the the stitch with a back stitch. So this is what we have here. I usually use the opening side for the bottom because it's got a little divot in it when I make them usually. That's just a technical glitch on my part. If glitch is the word. I don't think it is. But I don't care. Alright. So now that we have that done, oh man, I do not know why I unplugged this. That was like, what, 2 minutes? We're gonna have to mark the middle. But before that, let me just go over, like, when you're making these for a family or for a group of people who are together, personally, I like to make them all different. So it might have the same fabric and the same elastic and the same color thread, but instead of a zigzag, one's going to have a straight stitch, or one's going to have 2 lines of straight stitches, or it's going to have an overlock. And you can really get some variety in that, or you can use the same stitch color, the same thread color, the same stitch, the same fabric, but different color elastics. And this way, people aren't going to mix up anyone else's face mask. So that way, if they're sick and somehow did not catch the other's thing, it's not gonna spread. So what I'm doing is I'm marking halfway in the middle of both of these, right? And then we're gonna go 3/4 of an inch out from the middle. And you can make a line going across if you need to, especially on the outer dots, which I'm about to show you in a minute. But it's not necessarily necessary. I guess I'm used to making origami, so that being said, I'm kind of biased towards the situation. And I don't know. So if you can see, we have a dot in the middle and 2 dots, 3/4 from the center dot on each side of an inch. And what you're going to do is on the dots corresponding side from the middle, you're just going to fold it. Right? You fold it, and then where the middle line is, you're just going to pinch it and fold it back over. Right? So you have that. And you're going to do that to both sides. If it's not even, it still works as well, I think. I haven't necessarily tested them out, but I have made uneven ones and they open the same. So that's great. Sorry if y'all can hear any noise in the background of people. My neighbors are having a family get together. We're not really under a lockdown technically or anything. I just have an autoimmune disease, so I'm not gonna go say hey or anything. So once you have it folded, you're gonna press the whole thing down. Both sides is preferred. Being careful not to melt the elastic. And if it doesn't meet in the center, it's whatever. Truly, truly whatever. You can probably play around with that if face mask doesn't fit properly lengthwise from nose to chin. But this is what it's going to end up looking like and folded. There we go. This side views. And last step here, we have to sew along the short ends. You want to be careful because this part with the seam allowance and the folds, it's very thick. This is when you're going to want to have a high tension on your thread. And thank you, Oma, for suggesting that. It worked great. But if you're having trouble with your thread breaking, you just go ahead and push it over a little bit. It's not going to ruin the integrity or the fit of the mask too much, I don't think, even if it's half an inch. So how we're going to sew this is we're going to start on the edge, right? As soon as you get to the fold, back stitch, go over to the middle, right? And we're still sewing right here, but you back stitch, go to the middle of this fold, back stitch to the end of the fold, go all the way to the middle of the whole thing, and back stitch, and you repeat that. So it's like a train, and that way, if you're constantly wearing the mask, it should hold for a few 100,000 uses. I haven't broken mine yet except for the elastic, and that was because I was inexperienced at what I was doing or whatever. So I'm just going to quickly go over these with a straight stitch 2 setting for my stitch length. And once again, because of the elastic, you might have to pull it through lightly. You don't want to skip a stitch or anything. And there we go. Looks like just a regular straight stitch. You get a little bit closer, if it focuses, you can kind of see where it's back stitched, but for the most part, it just looks like a straight line. My earlier ones did not look like a straight line at all, but like I said, I was inexperienced with it, and it took me quite a while, probably like 2 hours to do the first one that I used for work. Okay, but for some reason, the machine was wiggling around on me and sliding all over the table, so maybe you can tell just a little bit more in this one. I really went up close to that real quick, didn't I? So you can see like right here how it's kind of zigzagged back and forth. Oh, that is a crooked line too. It doesn't matter too much, supposedly. I'm not a scientist. The shape that fits the face looks similar regardless of how crooked your lines are. So it should still cup your face. The good thing about these is it is like a sewn homemade fabric version of the ones that cup your face like this, where there is room, you can breathe a little bit. It's not as good as those. Words, right? Am I right? It's not as good as those. It's still gonna have a little bit underneath the chin, and in a gap between the nose, but it's still gonna be, like I said, it's still got that thing. And if you needed to, you can always do some darts, and you just fold a little triangle so that it does that. So that's all I have. Thank you all very, very much for watching. You can go check out my other videos if you want. They're a bit nonsensical, a bit informative, very much awkward for me to watch anyways. I don't know about y'all, but maybe you'll like them. My next video is part of my 365 hairstyle challenge series, and I believe I'm planning on uploading it on the 8th. I'm trying to do every 5 days. So I love y'all. Bye.